So, how do we do it? How do we actually build up our resolve? That inner strength to face down temptation and stick to a goal we've set for ourselves. Well, to get to the bottom of it, we're going to dive into a really simple, but honestly super powerful story about a young boy's first religious fast. It's a great way to understand what makes self discipline really tick. And it all starts with this one single thought. A declaration, really. Our hero, a young boy named Arfin, isn't just, going through the motions of a ritual. Oh no. For him, this is a personal quest. He's framing his fast like he's a superhero on a mission, which, right from the get-go, sets the stakes incredibly high. So, every hero's journey has to start somewhere, right? Well, for Arfin, his quest, this one long day without food, it all begins with a single, crucial step, making the intention. The commitment is locked in before the sun even thinks about rising. Okay, so let's set the scene. We're at his grandmother's house, his Nani Jan's house. It's super early, still dark out, and Arfin and his sister Fatima, they're about to have this special pre-dawn meal. It's called suhoor. And this is the moment where they formally make that promise, that intention, to fast for the whole day. And this idea of suhoor, it's really key. It's not just about, grabbing a quick bite to eat. It's way more than that. It's both a strategic and a spiritual preparation for the day. Think of it like this. This meal is the fuel for their commitment. It's the starting line for this marathon of self-control. And right after they make that intention, it gets backed up, fortified with prayer. The whole family asks for strength. And this is huge. It's them acknowledging that sometimes pure willpower just isn't going to cut it. And isn't that true for any big challenge we face? Sometimes you have to look for strength from somewhere beyond just yourself. Okay, so the intention is set, the prayer is said, the sun is up, and this is where we get to the first real test. Because after all that initial confidence, after the spiritual boost, well, the physical reality of the fast starts to creep in. And I think we can all relate to this next part. Arfin starts the day feeling great, maybe even a little invincible, like the hero he wants to be. But then, bam, it hits him. The exhaustion, the hunger. He's really feeling the fast now. That heroic feeling is suddenly going head-to-head with some very real physical feelings. And this is such a perfect picture of how temptation really works, isn't it? It's not just a thing sitting there. No, it's an active call. Arfin even gives it a voice. He says the samosa is calling his name. That's it right there. That's the internal voice of desire, and it's making its first big play. But just as he's about to give in, his sister Fatima steps in. And in this story, she's like his guide, his mentor. She's that crucial external voice of conscience, reminding him of the promise, the heroic quest he started just a few hours ago. And check out how she does it. Her words are so direct, so powerful. She doesn't just say, "Hey, don't eat that." Nope. She frames the whole thing as a trap that's been set by this external force, a tempter she calls shaitan. So who or what is shaitan? Well, in this story, it's basically temptation given a name and a face. It's the personification of that urge to give in. And by giving that impulse a name, the story does something really clever. It turns an internal battle into an external one. Now, it's not just Arfin versus his own hunger, it's Arfin versus this tricky character, which honestly makes the fight feel a lot clearer and maybe even a little easier to win. All right, so Arfin managed to beat that first test, but he had some help from his sister. Now, though, the challenge gets cranked up to a whole new level. He has to walk through an entire marketplace, a place that is literally designed to overwhelm you with temptation. But before he heads into this arena of temptation, his grandmother gives him a powerful piece of advice. And this is a really deep strategy for self-control. She's not just saying, don't eat the food. She's telling him to control the desire for it. The battle isn't won with your hands. It's won in your heart and in your mind. And man, what a battle it is. Just try to imagine it. All the sights, all the incredible smells of a bustling market, and you are starving. Every single delicious thing he sees just cranks up the difficulty. We're not talking about one little samosa anymore. This is a full-blown army of temptations. And sure enough, that voice of Shaitan is back, whispering in his ear. But this time, it's using that classic sneaky tactic. Just take one little bite, it says. Nobody will ever know. And we all know that voice, don't we? It's that little argument that tells you a small secret slip-up doesn't really count. But then,
another voice cuts through the noise. It's his Nani John's advice. And what's so cool is that it's not just him remembering her words anymore. It has become his own internal voice, his conscience. This is that light bulb moment where he takes the wisdom someone gave him and turns it into his own personal shield.
And here it is, the climax of the whole struggle. Arfin makes a conscious choice, and he even says it out loud. He talks back to that voice of temptation, and in doing so, he reaffirms his commitment. He's no longer just a passive victim of his hunger. He is now the active hero of his own story, just like he wanted to be from the very start. So after facing the ultimate test and winning, we get to the resolution. And the reward for all this struggle, it isn't just about finally getting to eat. It's something much deeper. It's this incredible sense of peace and accomplishment that you only get from seeing a tough commitment through to the end. The sun finally goes down. The long day, the challenge, it's over. It's time for iftar, the meal that breaks the fast. And that first bite of food, it signals the completion of his heroic journey. He actually did it. He made it. And the prayer the family says, Shukr alhamdulillah, it basically means thanks and praise be to God. It just perfectly captures that feeling, that mix of gratitude and relief that comes after a really hard-won victory. That's the taste of success, and sometimes that's even sweeter than the food you've been waiting for all day. So, when you boil it all down, what does Arfin's journey really show us? Well, it's like a little blueprint for building resolve. It shows us how powerful it is to start with a clear, almost heroic intention. It teaches us to see temptation not just as a craving, but as a trap we can learn to sidestep. It reminds us how important mentors are and how we have to take their wisdom and make it our own. And maybe the biggest lesson is that the real reward isn't just crossing the finish line, but it's the strength and the peace you find along the way. And that really leaves us with one final question to think about. See, Arfin's challenge was a fast from food, but we all have our own version of that, don't we? Maybe it's a fast from social media, a fast from bad habits, or even a fast from negative thinking. So I'll leave you with this. What personal fast is testing your resolve right now?